Yeah, manufactured just like the hatred, vitriol, and criticisms were manufactured for one of the greatest comic book films ever made, Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Batman v Superman and the manufactured zeitgeist of the time. So,
AstroTurfed.
right. So after so we obviously this is the my version of the director's cut of Zack Snyder analyzing a hero's journey, right? And we talked about this before, but coming out of this past week, and just like Sky highlighted, and he continues to highlight that article, which I'm glad he does, because it just harkens back to everything that we've kind of seen thus far throughout this man's career, where he can be like at the height of his powers at the time, and everybody should not necessarily everybody not that everybody just should celebrate. I'm not saying that. Like, criticize all you like, but it's one thing to criticize, is a whole other thing to create and manufacture, for lack of a better phrase, bullshit. So with this, with BVS, I remember my experience watching it, and I was lucky enough to be a part of a fan screening, a fan event, you know.
Which Leon in that screening was why I got off the damn internet. Fact. Because I was like, they ain't about to spoil that shit for me.
So it's funny because like when I don't even know how I got attached to this. I think a buddy of mine at the time was connected to, actually, that's what it was. Now that I think about it, a buddy of mine, he used to do a lot of filmmaking, or he helped with filmmaking, I should say. He worked on some Marvel movies. He worked on a couple of DC movies, and he and I got invited to this trailer preview. And when we went to the trailer preview, we put down our information on a card, and then they sent us tickets later on, like down the line. We got the tickets and watched BVS before everybody. And Zach was even there. That was the cool part. We didn't get to like go up and meet him, but he was there, and he said what up to everybody. Cool dude, whatever. And I remember walking out of that theater, and everybody was just kind of blown away. There were some people they were utterly taken aback by it, and they were whispering. Other people were like, "Oh my god, this is freaking crazy!" And other people were like, "This is like," people were comparing it to like art house films, and it was just a crazy variety of conversation. I didn't really hear anybody outright hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just kind of like
I
a
talked
lot of
to.
conversation.
It's funny.
I'm not done yet, but go ahead.
Oh, I didn't.
No,
I
you're good.
apologize.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a few, like a group or two of friends on like group chats who I talk to about the subjects, superhero movies, comic book movies, and things like that. And there's usually like maybe one person who would agree with me, like on Zack Snyder related topics, that he's worth his salt, that he's doing something good, doing something interesting. But most of them kind of take the establishment narrative on the matter. And even like right after BVS came out, there are people who are kind of like critical of it. So that I know personally, that I've known for most of my life. So
same here too. And just a real quick, same here too. Like I have friends that criticize it, but there was no vitriol behind it. It was like regular film entertainment conversation. It was like there wasn't this huge like, I'm gonna find the guy who made this movie and do something to him type of hate. You know what I'm saying? It was like really weird.
Yeah.
The aftermath of that. So I'm gonna just say this real quick. So I think what you're talking about is something that happened with the narrative that started to pick up steam from social media. And I know me and you kind of disagreed about that a bit, I think, during the last stream, but I think that the social media narrative, because it's the same sort of narrative that you hear, and it's almost like it's like you have a cue card in front of your hand, and you're just reading old tweets. It's not like any
Yeah.
sort of new ideas about why they dislike the movie. But it also started with the whole, this is going to be a tracking shot of blah, 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 blah. I don't know if you guys remember that. Let me see if I can find it, actually.
BVS will be a 2-hour tracking shot of all the DC superheroes crying in the rain.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange. I honestly don't know. I know there's some kind of top-down narrative coming for Snyder. And I also feel like there's kind of a bottom-up version as well. I don't think that they're the same, but I think that what happens is people look, confirmation bias. Like, I think people see all these articles. They don't like what when I read an article that,
I agree, Mike.
Yeah, when I read an article that, like, let's say I enjoyed something, I read an article that enjoys it, but then when I read the article, the essay, the criticism, the review, the reason why they did was completely different. I don't agree with the review, even though we have the same tone. But I feel like sometimes there are certain kinds of people who hate Zack Snyder's work. They don't like Zack Snyder's work because it's provocative or because it's dark, and they want something that's just, they don't have to think, they can leave their brain at the door or whatever. So they just like post these headlines of negative articles, and they kind of get little snippets and stuff, and they kind of share it around because their goal is just to tip the scale. They don't really care about the philosophy behind what they believe. And I think that's kind of what's happened. There is a bottom-up version, but it's just they kind of latch onto the feeling, but they're not the same thing.
I agree. And oh wait, I first wanted to let Leon kind of finish his point because I think that he was about to cook, and I'm gonna need a second for my BVS take because y'all know what my experience was. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight this manufacturer zeitgeist here, man. The manufacturer hate, because like I think I keep using the word zeitgeist is because I firmly believe that this sort of narrative permeated almost like you drop a pebble into a pond and just created a ripple effect. Because I'm not saying people walking around saying this, throughout their daily lives, but it's the talking points of.
It was hundreds of those, bro.
Right.
You
It
know
was
what I'm saying?
insane. And that's just
It
like
was
a small sample size, but it was just like, and this was my first experience with anything of this nature. I'm not even kidding. Like I remember seeing this and I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, look, I'm not saying everybody walked out of that theater thinking this was some sort of masterpiece or writing home about it, but the conversation was just completely different. There was actual conversation. It reminded me of when I used to watch movies when I was a kid, and we're not just talking about like how things are cool. We're doing that, but we're also like having a deeper conversation. Me and like my film nerd homies and shit like that. And even people walking out of the theater like, yo, man, did you see the part where this and that? And like, man, I wonder why this was so dark. Or, man, this was crazy how like blah, 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 blah. And man, it was like, it was this conversation, not this. This is something completely different. And it started with this bot bullshit. And they started to use bots that kind of sound like they're having a conversation. Then they started hiring people like guys from the rap that were having these same sort of like reasons to hate. And I can't remember the exact sentences, but let's say the sentence is like, oh, the movie sucked because, why didn't they actually fight longer? And so that narrative kind of trickled out into the real world. You know what I'm saying?
The Doomsday Ninja Turtle thing was like,
yes, that's literally. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
yes.
It's so stupid. I heard one of my actual friends utter this in real life, and I'm like, I was like, wow, like he's online too much. Of course, I'm online too much, so I don't really know if that's fair to say, but
Bro, I was talking to somebody that literally told me that they don't like the DC movies because they're too dark. And then we went through all the individual movies and she loved all of them. It was weird as shit. I was like, yo,
that's definitely another trope too. That is too dark, is too dark, is too dark. I told you about the Nicaraguan chick that was saying shit like that too. And then we watched all the movies and she loved them.
Yo, I was like, did you like Man of Steel? She was like, yeah. Did you like Batman vs Superman, the longer version? Yeah. Did you love Wonder Woman? Oh yeah, and my daughter really loves that one. Did you like Aquaman? Yeah, I love that one too. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't like the movies? Like why? And right after that, she literally said, I don't even know why I said that. Right? This is what happens. This types of shit permeates into the general audience, and then that becomes the narrative, right? And it's fine, but it's like we have to be honest about what is going on here. Like, and that is the main problem that I have, right? Because there's also a lot of clickbait incentive for the bottom up thing with the covering of Zack Snyder, right? It's very easy to get a lot of clicks and all that, especially if you want to get on there and start hating. So I get that, but why the top down aspect? That's what bothers me, because it's like that shit affects us as fans that was actually loving this content. Like seeing BVS in the theater with the sample size that I had, anybody like, yo, I saw that film with a bigger sample size than 99.9% of everybody that watched that movie. I was in a theater with 1,000 people in there. It got a standing ovation. Everybody loved it. They was clapping, like reacting. Though that Wonder Woman scene saving Batman is still to this day the loudest pop I've ever heard in any type of theater. And I saw Endgame and Infinity War in that same very theater, and it was just as packed. The whole Captain America grabbing the Thor's hammer, that didn't even compare, right? So, and Leon is right. That was the first ever experience that I had where it was kind of like I woke up that I was in the fucking Matrix. I was like, yo, how did I just leave the theater with 1,000 people in there? Everybody loved it. I asked the ushers, like, yo, what's been the response? She's like, yo, every screening is getting a standing O. We're like, yo, and I bet, right? So everybody's loving it. I had great experience, all that, but I've been off the internet for like a week. And then I go on the internet and everybody's talking about how dumb the movie is, how stupid it is. Yo, I've never had that happen before. Just like I've never been at any type of event where it was so fucking diverse and people try to lie about who was there. I've never been in a theater that had that kind of reaction that I've went on the internet and everybody fucking hated the movie.
It's almost like everybody should.
Wake the fuck up.
You know
I will say, after I got out of the screening of BVS, because it's funny, when I went into BVS, I kind of heard some of the murmurings. You hear people kind of talk like as they're entering or when they're sitting down, like, behind you or around you, what they were kind of talking about, the tone. There was kind of like concern and negative because of some of the articles that were released and things like that. After it was done, there were people who were kind of like questioning it, kind of like not sure what it was that they saw. Like me and my friends were like really excited about it. I was hyped about it, but I guess my experience was a little bit different. So yeah, I do think that doesn't justify the top down like attack and whatnot. But like you mentioned before, Sky, you said that why is this happening? What's the reason for this? What do you think the reason is?
But before you answer that, I just want to go back to this video that I failed to play that goes into the whole reason
the
why,
thing, right?
Why Zach might have been having so much hate. My theory on
like, yo, and don't have me go grab that for you in vain, bro.
He says this, but doesn't say anything. He doesn't remind me at all. I just kind of thought about this now. But now let me click it.
God, I still geek over Sucker Punch. I mean, it was just
it was just so innovative at the time and so different, and celebrating women like badasses who were put in really precarious situations. But I would say the costumes on that and the visuals were absolutely stunning, and it was pretty mind-blowing to see people dressed like your character. So that was really cool.
Throat clear was telling.
What'd you say?
That little throat clear. that was.
Oh yeah.
I was like, whoa, like that. You're not allowed to do that.
There's no throat clearing in Hollywood. What are you talking
Right.
about? Right?
They're looking at her like, "What you clear your throat for?"
Yeah.
By that.
What do you mean by
I
that?
think you should stay inside for a little bit, just in case.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer Mike's question, Sky, you were getting ready to say the why of it, right? The why the manufactured hate. Also, I want to touch on this too, Mike. I disagree with you 100% that the theatrical version was not significantly different than the Ultimate Edition. We'll get into that in a second. But go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I forgot Mike said that. Hold on. Hey,
no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not.
Anyway,
I did not.
Pull
Right.
the tweet up. Don't misrepresent like they do the Snyder.
You said the tweet? No. We did the
No,
you said that on screen.
You had said that
on the last one.
On like stream, yeah.
Yeah, the last Zack Snyder analyzing a hero's journey.
Oh, you can't pull that up, so you guys are off the hook.
But you're not. But go ahead, answer the question, Scott.
This top-down narrative is killing me, guys.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think with BVS and Zack's DC work, it was really like the culmination of all this stuff, right? They already didn't like this dude after Sucker Punch, and if you look at how he got the job for Man of Steel, it was only because of Christopher Nolan's leverage and power that he was able to make that movie. So I don't think that he would have been their choice at all, and I think that with Nolan kind of forcing him into that position, on one hand, you had other execs that was trying to kind of move in on and take over DC, right? Because you got your ball caps and like people of that nature, but also you have stuff like the BVS script being leaked to Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like, why the hell does that happen? How did the Russo brothers find out about what was going on in like Batman versus Superman?
Why would the Russo brothers say that their film was inspired by a film that was still in development in production? Why would they say that?
Yeah,
when it was titled something completely different before their movie,
and they had to redo Robert's contract. It was absolutely going to be a Serpent Society movie. Captain America 3 was not going to be Civil War until they got hold of that BVS script. Then all of a sudden it's Civil War, right? So there was like a multitude of things happening, and you can see it play out with them taking that 30 minutes out, which once again, late great John Schnepp surmised that they left about $250 million on the table by leaving out that 30 minutes, right?
And famously within the nerd geek film community, he called it a Frankenstein's monster of a movie. Or actually, that was Justice League later on.
Justice League, right? Yeah. But
shout out to that quote.
Also, right? They like took it out of China early, right? All these little weird things while that film was still making money, right? It was probably going to hit 1 billion theatrically. Definitely did when you factor in the home video. I think it stayed in like the top 5 for like a year or something on home video. So you would think that with BVS and them taking that 30 minutes out, and this is how you know that this shit is manufactured. Because if I'm a businessman, right, and I just put this product out that I made the director kind of alter it, and we put out a longer version with the added context that everything that the director said should be in the movie, period, right? Everything that I make him take out, it plays so much better when we leave it in. It is universally regarded as a superior version of that film. In my belief, it changes it from being a Batman-centric film to a Superman-centric film. You get so much more of Clark, so much more of like why he is feeling the way that he feels, and it's just a much, much better movie. It's killing on home video, all that. Why would you go do what you did with Justice League then? Like, the smart thing to do would be to, hey, let's just let this guy cook, seeing as how this movie was about to hit 1 billion anyway. It's doing gangbusters on fucking home fucking video, right? All this like fucking merchandising, even still to this day, right? Literally to this day.
To this day, sells out every time.
Right? And
you can't keep an action figure that looks anything remotely like that on the shelf. You just can't.
Bro, and then they turn around and then they double down on the foolishness. So that's when I knew that it was something wrong. And this was no longer about making money. You know, this was about a whole bunch of stuff, like greedy executives, and also what I think the themes was in BVS. Because yo, it's a lot in that movie, yo. He's criticizing the media like hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the media got blasted. And the fact that, I mean, man, I could go on forever about that. Go ahead.
Oh no. I just feel like all of these things kind of coalesced all at the same time. And this also got hit with the biggest online coordinated media fucking attack of a film that I've ever seen, and it worked. It worked
100%.